Howdy folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're saddling up and riding back in time to the Wild West, to untangle the legend of one of its most infamous figures. Billy the Kid. Was he a cold-blooded outlaw or a misunderstood youth caught in a violent world? Let's dig into the dust and see what we can find. Forget the black-hatted villain you see in old movies. The story of Billy the Kid begins not with a bang, but with a boy named Henry McCarty, born in the Irish slums of New York City, around 1859. After his father's early death, his mother, Catherine, moved her two sons west, seeking a better life and a healthier climate for her tuberculosis. They drifted through Indiana, Kansas, and eventually landed in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Catherine was a resilient woman. She remarried a man named William Antrim, and the family settled in Silver City. For a time, it seemed young Henry might have a normal life. He was described by locals as a regular kid, even well-liked, with a knack for singing and dancing. But the stability was short-lived. Catherine's health failed, and she passed away when Henry was just 14. His stepfather, Antrim, more interested in prospecting than parenting, essentially abandoned Henry and his brother. Suddenly, Henry was an orphan, left to fend for himself on the harsh frontier. It's here that our story takes its first dark turn. To survive, he fell in with a rough crowd. His first brush with the law was minor, a petty theft of food. But a later arrest for stealing clothing from a Chinese laundry, likely a prank egged on by an older accomplice, landed him in jail. Fearing a long sentence, the slight, wiry teenager escaped by shimmying up the chimney. From that moment on, Henry McCarty was a fugitive. He fled to Arizona, taking on the alias Kid Antrim. He tried to make it as a ranch hand and a gambler, but trouble seemed to follow him. He was a small-statured teen in a world of hardened men, and he developed a quick temper to compensate. This led to his first killing, after a blacksmith named Frank Windy Cahill repeatedly bullied and physically assaulted him. The Kid shot him in self-defense. Now, he wasn't just a fugitive, he was a wanted man. He fled back to New Mexico, seeking refuge with his old friend, John Jones. And it's around this time he started using the name William H. Bonney. This is where Billy the Kid gets swept up in one of the most famous conflicts of the Old West, the Lincoln County War. This wasn't a simple shootout. It was a brutal economic and political battle between two rival factions. On one side was the established business monopoly, run by Lawrence Murphy and James Dolan. Known as the House, they had the law, the courts, and political connections on their side. On the other side were a newcomer, an English rancher and businessman named John Tunstall, and his partner, the lawyer, Alexander McSween. Tunstall offered prices and treated people fairly, quickly earning the loyalty of local ranchers and homesteaders. Seeing a chance for honest work and perhaps a father figure, Billy signed on with Tunstall to work as a regulator, a guard for his cattle ranch. By all accounts, Tunstall took a liking to the young man, and Billy looked up to him. For a brief, shining moment, it seemed Billy had found his place. But the house wouldn't tolerate competition. In February 1878, a posse deputized by Sheriff William Brady, a man loyal to Dolan, and Murphy ambushed and murdered John Tunstall in cold blood. Billy was there and witnessed the murder of his friend and mentor. This event was the crucible that forged the legend of Billy the Kid. Tunstall's death wasn't just a business dispute. To Billy, it was a profound betrayal of justice. The local magistrate, who was sympathetic to Tunstall's cause, deputized the regulators, including Billy, and gave them warrants to arrest Tunstall's killers. What started as a legal mission escalated into a cycle of revenge. The regulators, led by Dick Brewer, hunted down the men responsible. Several shootouts followed, including a famous gunfight where they killed Sheriff Brady and one of his deputies in the middle of Lincoln's Main Street. Billy was no longer just a kid on the run. He was a key player in a full-blown war. He proved to be a natural at guerrilla tactics, fearless, quick-thinking, and a remarkably skilled marksman. The conflict climaxed in the 5-day battle in Lincoln. The regulators, including Billy, were besieged in McSween's house by the Dolan faction, now backed by the U.S. Army. The house was set on fire, and in the chaos, McSween was killed. Billy, however, led a daring escape, blazing his way out of the inferno with guns firing. He and a few others vanished into the night, but the war was over. The establishment had won. In the aftermath, a new governor, Lew Wallace, the same man who wrote Ben-Hur, was appointed to clean up New Mexico. He offered a pardon to most of the fighters, but Billy was excluded due to the indictment for Sheriff Brady's murder. Desperate for a clean slate, Billy arranged a secret meeting with Governor Wallace. He agreed to testify against the murderers from the house in exchange for a full pardon. Billy kept his word and testified, but the corrupt political machine was too strong. The legal system, controlled by Dolan's allies, let the real culprits walk free and prepared to hang Billy. Governor Wallace, for his part, never granted the pardon. Feeling betrayed, Billy escaped custody once again and returned to a life of rustling and gambling. He'd given the law a chance, and it had failed him. It was during this period that he was tracked down by his former friend, Pat Garrett. Garrett, once a bartender who had gambled with Billy, had been elected sheriff of Lincoln County on a promise to bring the kid in. In December 1880, Garrett and his posse cornered Billy and his gang at a place called Stinking Springs. After a cold and miserable siege, Billy surrendered. He was taken to Mesilla, tried, and sentenced to hang. But Billy the Kid wasn't done yet. In April 1881, while being held at the Lincoln County Courthouse, he pulled off his most legendary escape. He somehow got his hands on a gun, shot his two guards, James Bell and Bob Ollinger, and broke his chains. He then supposedly grabbed a rifle, walked out onto the balcony, and addressed the shocked townspeople below before riding out of town on a stolen horse, a free man once more. His freedom, however, was short-lived. Pat Garrett was relentless. Acting on a tip, Garrett tracked Billy to Fort Sumner, to the home of Pete Maxwell. In the dead of night, on July 14, 1881, Garrett waited in Maxwell's darkened bedroom. Billy, unsuspecting, entered the room, possibly to get some meat. He saw the shadowy figures and asked, in Spanish, "Quién es? Who is it?" Garrett recognized his voice, drew his pistol, and fired twice in the dark. The first shot hit Billy in the chest, killing him instantly. He was just 21 years old. So, who was William H. Bonney? A ruthless killer? A folk hero? The truth, as it often is, lies somewhere in the middle. He was a product of his time and circumstances, an orphan teen thrust into a violent, lawless world. He was loyal to his friends and ruthless to his enemies. He killed, but often in the context of a declared war or in self-defense. He was given a chance at a normal life and had it violently snatched away. He trusted the system of justice, and it betrayed him. His legend, larger than life, was cemented by Pat Garrett's sensationalized biography, The Authentic Life of Billy the Kid. It painted him as a cunning outlaw, but it also made him a star. He became a symbol of rebellion, of the individual against a corrupt system. In the end, a boy who just wanted a place to belong became an immortal icon of the American West. What do you think? Was Billy a villain or a victim of his era? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thanks for riding along with me today. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more tales from history, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an adventure. Until next time, stay curious.